Hi, and welcome to our webinar Onboarding for Admins for Professional Accounts. Today, I will mainly focus on how to set up your Wrike account so your team would successfully start using it. Before we get started, I would like to mention that after this session, you will get a follow-up email with all the materials and helpful resources, so feel free to check all of them and also to check Ask the Expert training sessions, where we have an interactive session with Q&A and we'll be diving deeper into each tool of Wrike. So let's get started. Of course, the main reason why you're looking at Wrike is most probably common collaboration and work management pain points. What are these? Poor visibility, unclear timelines and missed deadlines, meetings consume too much time because we're trying to catch up with everything that we missed, missed tasks, what we are responsible for. We are wasting a lot of time trying to figure or trying to locate that individual who is responsible for this or that project. Work is buried under piles of emails and spreadsheets, and as a result, again, we're running out of time simply because we're trying to find that one piece of information. And as a final result, lost communication. So why Wrike? Because we definitely can fix it. And to show you how, let's go through our today's agenda. So I will start with the folder structure, because it is extremely important to understand how to build the core of your workspace and to help your team adjust accordingly. Of course, templates. Templates would help you to automate your work and to start or launch your project with a single click. Tagging would help you to split your phases of ongoing work onto multiple stages, and color coding will help you doing that. And I will show you how. And next, sharing. Sharing means access and visibility in Wrike. And I will show you the logics and how to make sure that your team sees exactly what they need to see. And once we have all tasks, all templates, all projects, how to make sure that our team stays on top of everything. Of course, dashboards. It's our dynamic monitoring tool, and I'll show you how to create widgets. Then, invite your team. We have 3 main licenses in Wrike, and I will explain how they differ and how to understand which one you would like to use. And how to get it right. This unique document will help you to ask very important questions, and which would help you and your team understand the essentials and the key goal of what you're trying to achieve using Wrike. Cool, let's move further. So before I switch to my workspace, I would like to touch upon the essential framework of Wrike. Folder. Folder is your main brick, your main unit of how you could structure, organize, and prioritize your work. It's your key container. So remember that the logics should be pretty clear. So whenever you create a parent folder and start creating subfolders underneath, there should be also specific naming convention, which would help you and your team find a desired location right away. And color code, which would be very helpful whenever you start using folders as tags. Next is a project. Project is a type of a folder, and you can identify it by this clipboard icon right next to it, and it has more advanced attributes to it, which is start and finish dates. You can select an owner or multiple owners, and also you can have status of the project. And remember, many tasks, one goal, one project. And finally, task. Task is your main working unit in Wrike. Keep a track of changes, get things done, and you always know who's in charge. So keep it simple. Try to have one assignee per task, and one task, one action. Whenever you feel like one task has multiple phases, feel free to add subtasks to it and assign it to different individuals. Great! Let's now move to our workspace and see how that actually looks all live. Wrike is a very flexible platform that allows you to adjust it in the best way for your environment. Learning the essential tools and logics in Wrike will help you build up your own workspace and increase your productivity regardless of the size of your team and whether you are based in the same office or working remotely. Now that we know the basics, a very first thing that we need to build is a very well structured folder tree. Let's have a bit of a brainstorm here. How big is your team? Do they have dedicated projects? Or perhaps your work is client-based and you need to keep it all well structured per project? Or maybe working cycle is department-based? Well, there are multiple ways to go. You can build as many folder levels as you wish based on the categories that you have. As you can see here, I have various top-level categories, clients, departments, split onto more narrowed units, subfolders. Additionally, I would advise having some additional assistant folders for other organization processes or workflows. It could be anything. It could be meetings, vacations, internal ideas, documentation, or Zit archive. So I would like to highlight two types of folders that I would highly advise having for your team. Is knowledge base, where you would have company info or perhaps also company-wide meetings, and Wrike tips. So whenever you have interns or new team members, they could always first get familiar with company info, the policies that you have, and also Wrike tips, where you would keep first of all the file How to Get It Wrike, the one that I'll touch upon later on, and also where you could keep all the functionality of Wrike so they would know about every feature and what to use and when, and also quiz if appropriate, just to check how well they know Wrike and how well they can use it. And of course, Zit archive. It's this folder you can have for completed projects, and this way you can help your workspace to keep it clean and can always check for old projects if needed. So whenever I drill down, I can see that I use naming convention using 8 letters, because whenever my team wants to find something, they will know that Analytics is archived folder. So simply drag and drop a completed project or an outdated one into a appropriate location, and this way you can keep your workspace nice and clean. So now let's go through the best practices of how to set a folder structure. Clients. Here, whenever I drill down into clients top level folder, we can see subfolders. So for example, Barclays, one of our clients. And whenever I drill down into this one, I can see 3 main workflows that we have for this client: digital, print, TV, radio. And whenever I expand digital workflow, we can see already ongoing projects: AdWords engineering team campaign, workplace effectiveness post, and YouTube motivational video. So each of these projects is populated with tasks that are solely for this project. So I'm keeping the logics pretty simple. The next one is departments. In departments, as you can see, we have all our teams here, and also Zit vacations. So our team, whenever they have a vacation, they can go to this folder and see who is on PTO and who's not. And for example, marketing. For marketing, we have also their own workflow. Request inbox, the folder that is integrated with their email, so whenever they have an important request, it will redirect it to Wrike and land as a task. To learn more about email integration, simply go to our help portal from this button below, and you type in email integration and get a very detailed instruction of how to set it up. Next one is creative, events, Marcom, SEO, and webinar. So each workflow has already its dedicated projects and folders which our team is actively working on. Now I would start talking about templates and tagging. So basically, let me show how it all works. Since I'm doing webinars, I will create a parent folder, which I actually did already before, 05, using digits for sorting all these folders within marketing folder. So this is my place. That's where I keep my projects for webinar. So I have project for each week, and as you can see, I'm using here a specific naming convention, so it helps me to navigate around much easier and much faster. And since it's my personal project, my personal folder, I will start, so it will be always on top right here, and I don't have to go and drill down into each level in the main parent folder. So webinar, I need to create a new project for July, so I will add a project, and I will follow the same naming convention. So it would be 07/03 July 2017. Now it was created at the bottom of the list because it follows the sorting. And now I will start creating tasks. So of course the very first one is to brainstorm for ideas. The second one would be write a script, then prepare a presentation, and finally webinar. As you can see, I also use digits, simply because whenever I want to know which sequence it should have, it will help me a lot. And now I will also set the start and finish date of this project. So since it's the 3rd July, I will start from 3rd July, and the final date would be 7th. Great, so I'm the owner. We have set the start and finish date and status. Now, let's follow Wrike rules. Keep everything assigned. So I will select all tasks and I will use mass adding options that we have here on the right panel. And I will change assignees and I will assign it to myself. Now the first rule is completed. The next one is to schedule tasks. Why is it important? So you always see them whenever they're overdue. You will see them being in red, so you don't miss anything. And I will schedule them actually for today, so I will see them on the timeline. On the timeline, you get a much better visibility of all your tasks. And this is the first reason why I actually schedule them, because on the timeline, you won't see tasks that are not scheduled. So let's zoom it in. And now I can see that my project for the 3rd of July, it's highlighted in green because the status is green, and all my tasks are scheduled accordingly. So now I simply drag and drop them under my project. And here I can also get a much better idea of how long each task would take. So brainstorm for ideas, 1 day. Very nice. That's exactly for how long this task should last. But writing a script, it actually would take slightly longer than 1 day, and I will stretch it onto 2 days. Prepare a presentation, 1 day. Excellent. And finally, a webinar. Since all of these tasks, they are tightly connected to each other, I will create dependencies by simply hitting on this arrow and dragging and dropping from the last date of the task onto the start date. What will it do? It means that whenever brainstorm for ideas is completed, and let's say another individual is working on write a script, he will get a notification that now he can start working on writing a script. And webinar. Webinar is actually not a real task. It is the final event, the deadline, when I need to host a webinar. So I will turn it and convert it into a milestone. Milestone doesn't have a duration. It is a final deadline, an event that helps you to understand what is the final date of this project. And I will set a dependency with that as well. So, what is the benefit of creating this chain of dependencies? Let's say your project is much bigger, much larger, and then client came to you and said that, you know what, deadline has changed. We need to postpone it, or actually to make it even more urgent. Does it mean that we have to reschedule that all manually? Not at all. You simply hit on Shift key and drag and drop the milestone along the timeline. And the entire chain of dependency will be moved accordingly, following the milestone. Whenever the date is back, simply put it back using the same Shift key, and the entire dependency chain will be moved accordingly. This is a really great way to visualize all your dates, to move the entire chain accordingly, and it saves you a tremendous amount of time. Cool. So, why did I set all these dependencies, and why did I create all these tasks? Because webinar is something I run on a weekly basis, and it kind of has a repetitive workflow. Well, not kind of, but it does have a repetitive workflow. So how do I make it more automated? Very simple. I will create a template. So remember, I was talking about the folder that is called templates. So I go to this folder, I expand it, and I already can see that we have already dedicated locations per each theme. And whenever I expand marketing, I can already see that I have created a webinar template. And you can see that here are all the tasks, they're scheduled, they're overdue, but because it's a template, it doesn't really matter. And whenever I switch on the timeline, I can see how this project looks like. And whenever I need to adjust my template, I can simply do it from the timeline, or I can do it from the list view by also applying mass editing options. So I can select all tasks and, for example, set the start date or set due date, and the due date will be my milestone. So now, remember I said that with one click you can launch a project? That's what I'm going to do now. Right click, and that's how you will create a template by simply right clicking and duplicating it into a template. But since I already have one, I will duplicate it into active project. So I click on duplicate, and now I need to name it. So I will use my naming convention. This would be already not 3rd July, but it would be 10th July 2017. Oops. July. And now I need to put it into new location. So the location is webinar, and I already can see a path that is suggested. So actually this is jelly manufacturer, departments, marketing, and webinar. So I won't make a mistake and put a new project in an entirely different location. And now task naming prefix. Why is it important? Whenever you start duplicating, most probably you want to see tasks and easily recognize them. So that's what all the prefixes are for. And I will call them also appropriately. 07 July, so I know that this task belongs to this project. And now I will copy task with description, with attachments, with assignees, or without. For example, if I want to assign all the tasks to myself or somebody else. And now the most important part, reschedule. Here are two options. You can reschedule following the first task start date or the last task end date. Since I always know when I need to host a webinar and it is a milestone, so I will duplicate this template basing on my milestone final date. And it would be July, it will be 14th. So I know when is the final date and I will set it and hit on duplicate. Once I duplicate, I get redirected to my new project. So it's all active and it's all launched. Amazing. So I switched to the timeline just to double check all the details. Amazing. Everything is set exactly the way I want it. All my tasks with all dependencies and durations preserved, and the milestone. The only thing left, I need simply to assign all these tasks to myself. So I select them all and I assign them to myself. Great. Well done. So now that we have all tasks and projects, and let's say write a script requires some additional phases to go through. I need marketing to review it. So what do? That's how we start using tagging. In order to use tagging, of course, first we need to go and locate that folder that is dedicated specifically for this purpose. It's called statuses. In statuses, underneath this top level folder, I have created each process that each of my team requires, such as approval process, IT internal, marketing approval, and sales process. So let's go to marketing approval process. Whenever I go there, first I'll hide subfolders so I don't see anything. We have all the categories that we need each task to go through. For review, in review, approved, and rejected. So I simply created each of the subfolders by right-click on marketing and add a folder. And let's say there would be 0, new. And whenever it is created, I will select a color code. Color coding would help a lot to visualize it whenever you go to a task. So how would I use tagging? I will go to my June project, and for example, write a script is right now in progress. That means that I wrote a script and now I need my marketing team to review it. So what do? I need to tag it. There are multiple options. Either you can drag and drop. For example, I need to send it for review. New, it's their own stage. So all I need to do is to send it for review. So I drag and drop this folder onto write a script task in the list view. Or I can drag and drop this tag onto a task because this task is currently open. What does it do? It simply puts this task aside from June folder to for review as well. You can also add any additional folder by clicking a plus. What does that mean? Whenever you tag a task, first of all, it gives you much better visibility, so you can see that it's right now on for review stage. And second of all, it gives access to those who is shared on this folder. That's how we start talking about sharing. So what does sharing do? What do tags do? Basically, they give access to anyone who is shared on this or that level. I will show you how that works. First, I go to marketing approval process and I add some additional assignees. I will add Kevin and I will add Bob. So they all have access to marketing approval process, and that means they have access to each of these tags. But when I go to my June folder, I can check who it is shared with. It is currently shared with myself and with Tom. So whenever I create tasks here, nobody else from team will not see these tasks. And once I tag write a script with for review folder, and I'll check who is shared on for review folder, it is shared with additional team members. So that means that now they will see this task in a for review folder. That's how tagging and cross-tagging would work in terms of sharing. So let's say clients and Barclays, it will be shared with the sales team. So the sales team, let's say it would be Stuart. The same would apply here. Whenever, let's say, this task, write a script, it is for Barclays, they would attend this webinar, so it will be customized accordingly. So I add a tag Barclays to here. So everyone on the team who's shared on Barclays, let's say sales team, they will see that whenever they go to Barclays, they will see that there is right now a webinar run for this client. And whenever they have any questions or any comments, they can always know who to contact. That would be me. Cool. So how actually sharing works aside from tagging? It works top down. So let's go to the very top. This is Jolly Manufacturing. Right now it is shared with myself and with Tom. What does it mean? It means that Tom has access to all the levels from the very top to the very bottom. And the bottom would be any subfolder that you have. So he would even have access to video project. Let's say that you don't want to have access on all the levels. You want to customize it. Then that is why it is important to understand which type of structure and how many levels you wish to have. Because depending on which level you're about to share, for example, I will share only creative folder. That means that I can go to this level, creative, and I can share it with Bob. So what would that imply? That would mean that Bob, whenever he goes to his workspace, the only thing he will see is creative folder and all the projects that reside in creative. Let's say I want to make sharing even more granular. I will go on Best Workplace Habits blog and I will share it from the sharing button. I will add Bob only on this project. And he will not see that this project belongs to creative. He will only see blog on Best Workplace Habits project in his workspace. Let's go even deeper. Let's say there is a task that I want to share with him. For example, new marketing campaign. So he would use it as an example, as a template. So I will go to this task and remember that this project is not shared with him. So I go on a level of a task and I will add mention Bob and say, please use this task as a template. Feel free to come back if you have any questions. And what does it mean? It means that I had mentioned Bob and it instantly shared this task with him. And now we can check it by clicking on this button. Now this task is shared with Bob. And he also got an instant notification to his inbox saying that first this task is shared and that he was mentioned and he will see this message. So he will see this task on his workspace and he will be ready to go. So sharing can be as granular as you want it to be, from the very top to the very bottom and even on a level of a task. So you have all the freedom and now you have control over sharing and who can see what in Wrike. Now that we know how sharing works, how about creating dashboards for our team? How to see all these tasks on a dynamic widget? I will show you how. At the very top, this is how I like to call monitoring panel. So let's go to dashboards. I will collapse my folder tree and move to dashboards. First, let's start with your personal dashboard. Here I have already enabled a few. So let me show how that would look blank. Why is it private and it's personal? Because, again, talking about sharing, it is shared only with myself. Whenever I want to share with somebody else, hit on plus and select anybody from your team. So, Wrike has already created a few widgets for you. As I showed, one's assigned to me, and for example, my overdue. So what type of widgets we have here? It will pull all data from your Wrike account and it would show all tasks that are assigned to you, regardless of its location. So it will be pulled from across your entire Wrike workspace. And my overdues, there will be all tasks that are overdue. Now my team shared. How does it differ from personal? My team shared is already shared with a default user group that is called My Team. My team group includes all regular users in your account. Whenever you have a new regular user, he will be instantly shared on any item that is shared with this group. So you can share even task or a folder with my team. And in my team shares, you can keep any widgets that you want. That would be for entire team. Whenever you have a vacation, you can create a widget from vacation folder so everybody can dynamically see who is going on vacation. And finally, let's help our team, because that's what we're going to do. Marketing approval. You can see that I have created widgets per each phase that task needs to go through. But let me show how to create them from the scratch. So let's pretend marketing approval is completely blank. So in order to create widgets for a dashboard, we need to go to a folder where we want to create it from. I will create it from statuses because marketing team, they need to know which tasks reside in each process. So what do I do? We can create either from marketing approval process folder, but because we're going to use drag and drop, I will create from each single folder. So I go for review, and by default there are filters all active and assigned to all. If you want any additional filters, then simply click on this funnel button and advanced filter menu will open up on your right. That's exactly what we need to see. They will be sorted by date, or you can select that they're sorted by priority. So team members could play around with tasks and drag and drop them in a sequence they want to see them, but let's keep them by date. So they will be already overdue, today, tomorrow, everything will be prioritized. And I click on three-dot button, add to dashboard, marketing approval. It will already pick the name of the widget basing on the source that you selected. This would be for review. It looks fine. Add to dashboard. Then I go to in review, the same filters. Yes, I don't need any additional filters. And I click on three-dot button, add to dashboard, marketing approval, in review, add to dashboard. And the same I do for each folder, making sure that the filters are the ones that I need and that the results is exactly what I want my team to see, and reject it as well. So I go and add the final widget. So now I go back to dashboard and we can see that all the widgets were nicely created. So how can they work on these widgets? For example, there is a new task, review, and it's been already overdue, so they quickly need to start working on it. So they simply drag and drop this into the in review folder. And they can also change a date on the go. From June, they already would select that the due date will be 28th, and it will be no longer overdue. All the data, everything, since they're dynamic, they will be always up to date. And that's how they can also change the status. Why did I remain all the filters the same? Because the only thing that I want in task to be changed is a phase where it is at. So right now, review, let's say it's been rejected, too sad. So they would pull it into rejected widget. And now, what did happen to a task? Let's click on it. It has a rejected phase, regardless that it has also original location. Because we created these widgets from for review folder, in review, approved, and rejected, whenever you move tasks between widgets, it would reapply a filter that it differs from the previous widget. So that's how you can actively work on tasks from the dashboard itself, and your team, it will be so easy for them just to move tasks between whenever it's approved or rejected, to open it up on the go, to select a status, or even reschedule it right away whenever they need to make sure that it's no longer overdue. So, using this way of creating widgets, you can have any sort of widget. For example, clients. For a client, it's extremely important to know which tasks are overdue. So we can see here which filters were applied for this widget. It was created from Barclays folder, all active statuses, assigned to all because we need to see all assignees, and additional filter was applied, overdue. So this way you can add any additional widgets. For example, in clients, Barclay, we can go even to print, or we can also have a widget, for example, for Comcast or Deloitte. And whenever we know which type of task we want to see, make sure to show subfolders where you would see all tasks. And if they're super old, well, that means that was already completed. And feel free to go and create a widget per each client, so your sales team always know what is happening. The same applies for statuses, for example, for the sales team that we have here. Sales process, new opportunity, negotiation, closed won, closed lost. That's how your team can interactively work with widgets depending on which type of them were created. So go ahead and remember to share a dashboard with those who need to see it. So marketing will be shared with marketing team, clients would be shared with the sales team. And I'm pretty sure that it will save a lot of time for your team and they could much more effectively work within Wrike. Now let's invite your team. To do so, let's go to our kingdom, profile picture, account management, and you get redirected to your account management tab. As you remember, I mentioned that we have 3 types of licenses. I click on Kevin, and here you can see collaborator, user, regular, external, or you can also grant admin rights in case you want to make somebody else on your account an admin. So what's the difference? Regular user has all the full functionality in Wrike. They can share, they can invite other team members, they can create everything in Wrike what they need, except for they don't have account management tab. External user, they also have pretty much full functionality, but they cannot share anything in Wrike, and also they cannot invite anybody else. And whenever they go to a folder that is shared with them, they will only see those users who are shared also on this folder. So he doesn't have an access to the entire list of all users in your account. And finally, collaborator. Collaborator, and you can always drag and drop users from this section to this one. Collaborator doesn't require a paid seat in your account, so it's pretty much free. It's a great type of license in order to work with your clients or your partners who you would like to share your Wrike workspace with. And the reason behind it is that they get only view mode access. What does it mean? They will only see what you share with them. They can add their comments, they can add their attachments, and also they can change the status of a task. This type of license is really great for collaboration. So whenever you want to show a project to one of your clients, invite them as a collaborator and share this folder with them. And of course, preferably have a separate folder where you have data that is okay to share with your client. So that's how your account management looks like. And remember, all regular users with regular type of license, they belong to my team group. And my team group is a default group which you can share folders, tasks, and anything else. Once you successfully onboarded your team, put this file into the location that I have showed. But before, just adjust it to your needs accordingly. So how to get it right, what it's all about. First, you need to understand, and your team, why Wrike, what pain points and which processes you are trying to resolve by using Wrike. Knowing the answer, it will be much easier for you to create specific rules and processes so everybody would be following that and thus accomplish your main goal. What is expectation for Wrike usage? That will be pretty much the same as the first question. So know why you're using it, and when your team understands that as well, it will be so much easier to adjust to this tool because everybody wants to use it for their own benefit. How work is initiated? Do you use templates to create a project from the scratch? Do you use email integration? Or how exactly you're going to have all your work initiated? And who's responsible for creating tasks and project? You as an admin, or you give this freedom to all your users and your team? Next, is there a specific naming convention? That will be really helpful for you to think of specific naming convention because your team is about to grow. Your folder structure will be growing as well. So the way you started, that's the way it will continue to grow. So make it keep it simple and let it look nice. Where do everybody see their tasks? They can go to My Work, which is a automated, half-automated monitoring tool, or since I showed how to use dashboard, create dashboards for your team and create widgets or teach them how to do that so they would create all the widgets that they need in order to stay on top of everything. Where the work is done. Remember I had mentioned Stuart to let him know that he can use this task as a template. So that's the way to go. At mentioning is a really great way to communicate inside of Wrike. Whenever you're done with a task, at mention your manager so he or she would know that you're done with it and you're ready to discuss this. Or I'd mention your collaborator, your client, so he would review all the changes that were done and he would approve or disapprove. And of course, best practice for your team, run team meetings with Wrike. So keep your meeting folder, keep all agendas of past meetings and upcoming ones so everybody stays on the same page of everything what is happening. And guess what? You'll be much more effective and productive using Wrike. And another golden rule, if it is not in Wrike, it doesn't exist. Stick to this rule and I'm pretty sure that you will see progress within a very short period of time. And remember, you are not alone in Wrike. Feel free to attend one of our Ask the Expert Q&A trainings where you can learn more in depth about each feature of Wrike and ask your questions. Also, Help Center will provide you with all the detailed instructions per each feature and functionality in Wrike. And also, if you're not sure of something, feel free to contact our support team 24/7. And community, check it for all the use cases and suggestions, and also leave your product feedback that is fully used by our customers. Thank you very much for your attention during this webinar. Feel free to register for Ask the Expert and check your email box for a follow-up email with all the links and materials. So I hope you will stay on top of things and will stay productive and effective using Wrike. Thank you and see you soon.